Hello everyone and welcome to the next session of Core Java. In continuation with the discussion about classes in Java, we are going to have a focus on variables. Though we have discussed about variables earlier, this is a recap and some additional things or some new things regarding variables is what we are going to understand in this particular session. So let's get started. So we are going to discuss about what all types of variables are available, how we are going to use these variables, and also what all operations we can perform in these variables. Let's have a recap about a variable because we have already discussed about it. So what is a variable? So a variable is a name given to a memory location. Whenever I need to store any information in my application, I will make use of variable. And this is the basic unit of storage in my application, which is going to hold the information. Whatever value we are going to specify in any variable can be modified during execution of that application. So currently, say for example, I have a variable which is of type int and I'm storing value as 100, and in my application further code is modifying that 100 to 110. So this is allowed. This is modification of the data. Now this is a very important point which I'm going to tell you now is in Java applications, the variables which you want to use in your application must be declared before use. We will assign the value definitely, but declaration is important. Whenever we are declaring any variable, we use data type variable name, right? So data type and variable name semicolon is just the declaration. Data type variable name equal to value is the initialization. Now, how that variable will hold data? Two ways. Either I'm initializing the variable in my application, providing certain value within the application, or I'm accepting values from the user while executing that particular code, which will happen at runtime. So these are the two ways how values can be assigned. In first way, when I say variable initialization, as I have already told you, data type variable name equal to value. This is the variable initialization within application, and assigning value by taking input from the user. This will happen whenever you are executing that particular application. Like say for example, in many applications you will be given a prompt like enter first name, enter last name, enter age. So the application is accepting input from the user, and then that data is being assigned to that particular variable. So these are two ways of assigning values to the variables which we have declared in our application. So this is how we will assign the value. Int age is equal to 20 and semicolon. So in RAM, there will be reserved memory, and that memory location will have that particular data. Actually, this we have already discussed. Now we will be looking at the types of variables which are available in Java. So three types. Actually, we can consider two types only, but local, global, and instance. Local variables are nothing but the variables which are declared within any block. Global outside any block. Global are also termed as instance data members. So let's see what is local variable. As the definition says, it is a variable defined within a block or a method or constructor. It's called a local variable. And the scope of that variable is limited to that block only, right? So that variable will not be available outside that block. That is nothing but a scope. So say for example, I have declared a variable within any block or within any method. So that local variable is created whenever that block gets executed or function being executed. At that point, that variable will be created and it is destroyed as soon as that block execution is exited. And the most important point is initialization of local variable is mandatory before usage of variable. Confused? Let's have a look at it through application. So here I am creating a class, say for example, local variable demo. In this class, I am creating a block of code. Say for example, public void display. This is some block of code. This is a method actually, right? So if I'm declaring a variable int a, right? So I have declared a variable, right? Now if I'm trying to access this variable outside the block, it is saying that a variable is not available, right? It is not available. It is giving us the syntax error because this a variable does not exist outside this particular block. Now I'm simply printing this a variable. So again, I'm getting an error over here. It says that the local variable a may not have been initialized. Right? So for local variable, it is mandatory to initialize the variable. Unless you initialize that variable, you cannot use it. Now the compilation error is gone. So this is a local variable. Local variables will never have any access modifier. Whenever we are executing this method, this a variable will be created. Once we are outside this particular block, whenever this function execution is exited, that block, that a variable does not exist, so we cannot access it. It is destroyed as long as or at the same time when that block execution is over. So this is about local variables. Global variables are the variables which are declared outside any block of code. And these global variables are available throughout the code and even in the blocks in Java application. Now, global variables are always referred as instance variables if they are non-static data members. Global, when we talk about global, it is outside any block. And global variables are the variables which are declared outside any block of code. Now, global variables can be of two types. They can be static or non-static. What are static data members? Obviously, we will be discussing in forthcoming sessions. Right now, we are going to focus on global variables, which are which is conceptual understanding, and then right now we will be looking at instance data members. Then we will discuss about static later on. So basically, global variables are the variables which are declared outside the block. These variables are available throughout the application, even in any block of code which is there in the Java application. Now, these global variables can be static or non-static. Now, the non-static global variables are termed as instance data members. So, a variable which is declared inside class but outside any method or any block of code is called as instance data members, and also these are non-static data members. Right? Now, why these are termed as instance data members? Instance, does it remind anything? Yes, the object of the class, right? So whatever instance data members are there, they belong to instance of that particular class. Every instance has got its own copy of these data members. Next, we are going to discuss about typecasting. So this is something additional regarding variables. So what is typecasting? So typecasting is nothing but storing one type of data in another type of variable. We have already discussed about instance data members and how instances are created and how the copy of instance data members is created for every instance of the class. In this session, we are going to discuss something more about variables, which is typecasting. And this typecasting, we are going to discuss about primitive data. Now, what is typecasting? First of all, let's remember one thing, that Java is strongly typed programming language. Now, what do you mean by strongly typed programming language? When I'm declaring any variable of a specific type, that variable can hold only that type of value. This is strongly typed. Still, if the data types are compatible with each other, we can store one type of data into another type of variable, and this process is termed as typecasting. Okay, so here you can see one example. There is one variable of type int, whose value is 10, and I'm assigning that value directly into a float variable. Let's see through the code what exactly happens. So I'm creating a class. I hope you are looking at the way how I'm specifying class names. This is very important, right? So this is the main method. We also know that a class with main method, without main method, what process happens with those. So I'm creating a variable float var equal to int var. Now this process is complete. Let's print what we have. So float var. Now this is how we can concatenate and print the value. Now what type of variable I have created over here? This int var and this float var are local variables. They are declared and initialized, right? Before initialization, obviously, these are declared inside main method. So they are local to main method. So these are local variables, right? So let's execute this. So whenever I am executing this code, we will get the value as 10.0. Now you can see that this 0.0 is added over here at the time of conversion, because one type of data being stored into another type of variable. Now let's try the other way around. So float var equal to, now whenever you are specifying float value, it must be followed by either lowercase f or uppercase. We have already discussed about. Now why these two are compatible, why we didn't get any error over here is, first of all, both have numeric data members and both require same memory location, 4 bytes, right? Now in this particular case, it is working fine. However, here I can see that there is a compilation error. Why compilation error? Because int data or int variable can hold non-decimal point value. It cannot hold floating point number. So there are chances that the information or the data which is there after decimal point will be lost. So I'm ready to bear that particular loss, and still I want to represent this float value in the form of int value. In that case, we can simply convert this float variable into int type. So this round bracket is nothing but the typecast operator, and we can store that particular data in int type of variable. This is termed as typecasting. Now we will store this int var into long variable. Now again, it is not giving me any error. It is storing that value, right? So I'm declaring another variable int var2 equal to long. Now again, it is giving error. Now why this is error over here? Now both int and long, they will not have any floating point, any decimal point, but still I'm getting error over here. Error was not thrown. There was no compilation error at this particular point. Why this is so? First of all, when can I perform this operation? When compatibility is there. So long and int are compatible with each other. Both have numeric data types. Both hold non-decimal pointing, right? Now, why this operation is successful? Because int requires 4 bytes of memory, long requires 8 bytes of memory. So 4 bytes of memory data can easily be stored in 8 bytes of memory. However, when we try this the other way around, where 8 bytes of memory value being stored in 4 bytes of memory value, obviously there are chances of data loss. So we need to perform the typecasting and then store data into int variable. So this is nothing but typecasting. how it is performed in Java. While performing typecasting, the baseline is the data members which you are trying to typecast must be compatible with each other. Now you can try this, right? So let's see this example through the code. So I have byte A equal to 10, byte B equal to 20, byte C equal to A plus B, and system.out.println C. Now what happened? Why I'm getting compilation error over here? Because internally, whenever we are performing any arithmetic operation over here, this data is considered as int. So 10 plus 20 or A plus B operation is actually going to result into int value. So we need to perform the typecasting to it and then store data into the byte variable. This is one solution, or another solution is int result equal to A plus B. Here typecasting will not be required because 10 and 20 by default will be considered as int, and then addition will be performed on int value, and then data will be available to us. So with this, we come to the end of this particular session where we had a recap about what is variable, and we discussed some more points related to variables, what all types of variables are available, and also we discussed about typecasting, which is performed in primitive data types. Thank you.